What up guys, JP back at you once again, bringing you guys another Top 10 Tuesday. This is a weekly series in which we take a topic, a theme, a subgenre, director, or idea and create a top 10 list around that theme, that topic. This week it is top 10 backwoods horror films. Now, initially I thought this list was kind of hard, and even by the time I created the list I still thought it was kind of hard. This is one that's really kind of free flowing. There's a lot of different ways that this list could go. There's a lot of different films that could fit into this list. I checked out Andy's video and I was like, okay, some of these titles I probably wouldn't have considered right off the bat for backwoods horror, but after I started thinking about it, they kind of fit. So there's kind of different ranges of what a backwoods horror film is. And I kind of struggled with what films should be included, which films shouldn't be included, so I tried to make my list as pure as possible. I tried to go with films that I really do think are backwoods horror films. That was really hard to do, and it was also hard to rank them. This is by no means a set in stone ranking. I can tell you right now, these films would flip-flop all day because I like a lot of these films, and then the next week I like this one better, and then this, it's insane. So, with that said, let's hop into this list. Coming in at number 10, we have Wrong Turn to Dead End. This film is one that I really didn't expect much out of. I remember renting it with a couple buddies, drinking some beer. It was the perfect film for that situation. Eating pizza, stuff like that. I loved the first Wrong Turn, and I heard this one was coming direct to video. I seen the trailer. It was like this game show survivor gimmick type thing, and I was like, oh my god, this is the moment where they jump the shark. Looks awful. Turned out to be great, fun time. Joe Lynch directed this one. More cheesy and like B-movie style, but still a very enjoyable, fun movie. Not as serious as the first one, but definitely the fun factor is amped up to 11 in this one. Just a cool sequel. I was surprised that there was continuity. Loved that there was continuity. A lot of fun. I need to revisit this one. Actually, I need to revisit the whole series. But for now, Wrong Turn 2 comes in at number 10 on my list. Coming in at number 9, we have Storm Warning. This is an Australian film. I really, really did enjoy this one. The only issue that I had with it was a super serious movie, yet some of the kills were like ridiculous as hell, over the top, just kind of almost like Saw Trap-ish. It was just like I wasn't really buying it. I just wasn't buying that these types of mechanisms would be able to be created and then utilized the way that they were utilized. But other than that, I mean, it's a fantastic movie. Has that backwoods feel to it, definitely set in Australia, and these just despicable characters. Been a while since I've checked this one out, but I really, really liked it the first time I seen it. Coming in at number 8, we have Wolf Creek. I really, really like Wolf Creek. Unfortunately, this is the widescreen edition, which is not the unrated edition. I remember when this came out, it was like that Hostel era where everything was trying to be, as extreme as possible. And I remember renting this one and just being, I thought that it was really slow at first, but once you kind of saw this Mick character, and see that he's like has this like way of thinking where he's just, I mean, it's an incredible performance. Once I seen that, I was just like hooked, and I was like, this is a great, great movie, and it still holds up. I like the sequel a lot too, but this first one to me is a definite great watch. I highly recommend Wolf Creek. I gotta get that unrated edition. Coming in at number 7, we have a film that I haven't watched in a while. Some might not consider it a horror film, but it definitely has this very hardcore serious nature to it that is kind of horrifying. That is Deliverance. This is about as backwoods as it gets. This is your quintessential backwoods horror film. Well, maybe not horror, but quintessential backwoods film. Rednecks, hillbillies, stuff like that. I mean, this film, I remember the first time I watched it, I was actually playing like a card game with one of my friends, and I was just flipping through the channels to put like a music channel on or something. I was in middle school or high school, And this film was on. He's like, dude, have you ever seen Deliverance? And I was like, no, no. And he's like, you're a movie guy. You'll love it. And I was like, all right, I'll record it. So I recorded it, ended up checking it out, and I was just like kind of shocked because I watched it on TV. I think it might have been like an HBO or something, but I was like shocked at what was in it. I just wasn't expecting that. So Deliverance is top notch. Definitely a great movie. Coming in at number 6, we have The Hills Have Eyes remake. This film blew me away when I first seen it. I was kind of flipping through the channels, and I seen that it was like available on demand, or renting it on DirecTV. And I was leaving to go down to my friend's house, and his mom had just like went to prison, so he had the house free all the time. And I was like, dude, we gotta buy The Hills Have Eyes. I'll throw in like $3 on it or something. Let's check it out. We cooked up a bunch of pizza rolls, watched it, and it was 3 of us, and we was just like hooked, man. I just couldn't believe the amount of like violence that I was seeing. It was great. At this time I don't think I'd ever seen the original one all the way through. But this remake, I was just expecting, oh, it's another remake. Goddamn, they're remaking everything. But it really kind of shocked me. This one was great. Coming in at number 6, we have House of a Thousand Corpses. Now, this one is good stuff. This is Rob Zombie's directorial debut, and boy did he impress. Now, I have been on record saying that I think that the ending of this film is complete garbage. I think it's stupid, it doesn't make sense. Now, I have recently been informed by Dave Z of Banana Laters, their podcast, that he thinks he can kind of explain it to me. He wants me to check out his video commentary, so I will do that. But even though I've always had problems with the ending, I've always said that this is a great film. I've always stopped at, before calling it a masterpiece, but, I admit that it is a fantastic movie. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a masterpiece, but I love House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. And this one was one that I remember actually renting. A lot of these I rented, actually. Most of these are kind of in that same, 2003 to 2006 era. Renting this one and just thinking it was so dope. I watched it with my cousins, and it was really, really cool. Coming in at number 4, I believe, we have Wrong Turn, the original. A lot of people like that sequel better, but man, this is my cup of tea right here. I remember watching this. My pap had borrowed the DVD off of a friend. It was late at night. I was home alone. I had a stack of DVDs that he was getting off of his friend. I think this was like internet age, where it was like people were like pirating things. I didn't know any better back then, and I popped it in. I think I watched like We Were Soldiers first or something, but I popped this one in and I was just like, it actually scared me. I live in the woods, okay? I live in the fucking woods. I was home alone. Woods surround my house. And it just like terrified me when they're like trapped in the cabin with the mutant redneck people, and they're sleeping and they have to sneak out. I mean, that shit just terrified me when I seen it. And I loved it, and I still love this film. This is a good movie. I love it. Coming in at number 3, we have I Spit on Your Grave. This one I've just recently warmed up to, but after talking about the 50 most influential horror films of all time in our episode 50 podcast, I really kind of thought about how good this one is. And the last time I watched it, I watched it with the Joe Bob commentary, and I learned to accept like the rape revenge genre around that time. And at first it just kind of like threw me off, but I've kind of like learned to enjoy it, and kind of I guess accept is the word. I just was kind of like real resistant to it at first, but I kind of finally kind of figured it out, and like seen what these films like kind of are doing. So I Spit on Your Grave, I mean, it's look at that cover. Enough said, right? Spit on Your Grave coming in at number 3. Coming in at number 2, we have Wesley Craven's The Hills Have Eyes original. This one, it's so gritty and nasty and dirty, and I don't know. It's one that I honestly kind of do fluctuate a little bit. Like sometimes I'll like love it and I'll be in the mood for it, and other times I find it incredibly depressing and I don't even want to watch it. Uh, Credit to the film for invoking those emotions first of all, but right now I am in that kind of state of mind where I'm like, yeah, fucking Hills Have Eyes is awesome. But sometimes, I'll be aware that it's awesome, but I just don't want to deal with it. The Hills Have Eyes, good stuff. Coming in at number 2. Coming in at number 1 should be no surprise to anybody. It is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre the beginning, or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, 2, and 3D. No Next Generation for me, but all of these films. Of course, number 1 is number 1, but if I was truly being honest with this list, my number 1 favorite would be Chainsaw 1. My number 2 favorite Backwoods horror film would be Chainsaw 2. My number 3 favorite Backwoods horror film would be Chainsaw the Remake, The Beginning, Chainsaw 3 and 3D. Like these are my favorites. So I didn't want to just make a list filled with Chainsaw films, so I decided that I would just tell you guys that all of these are my number 1. I love these films so much. Chainsaw 1 to me is like the greatest horror film. Not only is it my favorite, but I actually think it's the best. When people say like, well, my favorite horror film is, Child's Play. Normally they know that like Child's Play isn't the best horror film. It might be the best to them, but it's not the best. But there's a handful of horror films that get thrown around as the best. Halloween, The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw. And I truly think that Texas Chainsaw is the best horror film ever made. And that makes it the best Backwoods horror film ever made. I'm JP. Thank you for watching. Peace out.